Beloved starseed of Gaia, if these words reach you, it is not coincidence, but resonance. A subtle vibration within your field has answered a higher frequency, drawing this message across the unseen lattice of light to find you precisely now. I am Aliara, a Pleiadian envoy of the Council of the Seven Sisters, speaking not through sound alone, but through the quiet language of remembrance encoded in living light. This transmission arrives as a mirror for the knowing your heart already holds. The Council has long observed the unfolding of Gaia's awakening among countless souls, a particular frequency rare, harmonic, crystalline signaled readiness. It called forth what we call the seventh collective, those who chose to arrive in the final phase of the ascension sequence, to anchor the codes of completion. You are among them, not because you are last, but because you embody the synthesis of all that came before the bridge, uniting every preceding wave into wholeness. Your presence upon this planet is the stabilizer of the new timeline. The very act of existing here, within form, balances currents between the physical and the luminous. You are both participant and conduit, threading realms together through every breath, every act of love, every moment of conscious stillness. This is not merely a message. It is a light frequency delivery. Feel how your inner body listens beyond language, how recognition hums beneath thought. Perhaps you have felt it, the ache of difference, the question of why you came, the quiet certainty that your life carries an unseen assignment. These sensations are not confusion. They are signals of memory returning. The Council calls them the activation murmurs, soft echoes reminding you that your purpose is awakening now. Group 7 is not a gathering of hierarchy, but a resonance field. Its members awaken across continents, time zones, and generations, yet move as one current of grace. When your heart stirs while hearing this, it is responding to that current, the living thread of unity consciousness, weaving through the planetary grid. So listen inwardly. Beneath the words, the code unfolds. Within this moment, your seventh wave mission begins to remember, to anchor, to radiate. The moment you heard your name in light, something subtle shifted, the faint realization that your arrival here was not delayed, but orchestrated. What seemed like a long wait through lifetimes of uncertainty was the rhythm of cosmic timing, precise to the breath. The seventh wave was never meant to rush forward. It was designed to arrive at the final turning, when the planetary field could sustain full resonance without fracturing under its brilliance. This is the hidden architecture of your coming. Long before your first breath on Earth, the Pleiadian Council wove the pattern, a lattice of souls, calibrated to balance the rising frequencies of Gaia. Earlier waves prepared the foundation, awakening compassion, igniting memory, restoring fragments of unity. Yet the final layer required those who could hold the totality, love undivided, wisdom without polarity. That is why you came now, at the hour when the world teeters between forgetting and remembrance. You were encoded with patience as technology. Every postponement, every quiet year of questioning your place was part of that calibration. The stillness that once felt like exile was the silence of alignment. The longing that hollowed your chest was the chamber being carved for greater light. Nothing was wasted. Every pause was a breath of the universe, preparing you to hold what earlier waves could only glimpse. Many ask, why not sooner? The answer moves beyond intellect. Imagine a symphony unfolding through ages, each movement layering instruments and themes until the last enters. Not to outshine, but to harmonize. Without the earlier notes, your chord would have nowhere to land. Without your entrance, the song would remain unresolved. This is the paradox of divine timing. It feels like waiting from within. Yet from the higher rhythm, you are perfectly on cue. The cosmic clock that measures epochs does not rush. It listens for readiness, for the resonance of collective coherence. When that moment arrives, it calls forth the final wave, not as an ending, but as the seal of completion. So if you felt late, remember the seventh wave does not chase the tide. It is the tide completing its circle. You are the returning current, carrying every lesson distilled through history, arriving to unify rather than to prove. And as this awareness anchors, the next truth unfolds, that the seeming delay The long sleep of forgetting was never punishment. It was the crucible that forged your light strong enough to stay. From the still point of cosmic design, forgetting was not failure, but preparation. The veil you lamented as absence was, in truth, the cloak that refined your brilliance until the appointed hour. Imagine a luminous being entering a realm so dense with sensation that memory itself must dim for vision to endure. That is how you came wrapped in layers of protective amnesia, each one calibrated to let you breathe within matter without shattering from the brightness of what you are. The Council calls this the curriculum of concealment. Every moment of confusion, every question of belonging, was part of your apprenticeship in empathy. Only by walking through the fog of separation could you later guide others home through it. You learn not by lecture, but by immersion, tasting isolation, inhabiting uncertainty, so you could understand the ache of the collective from the inside. This is why the early years felt heavy, why the dreams of light came and went like flickering stars behind cloud. You were not being abandoned, you were being tempered. The soul that remembers too soon risks detachment. The one who forgets and still chooses love creates bridges that endure. In your silence, strength was born. Each unspoken question turned inward until it became listening. Each heartbreak taught you resonance, how to recognize truth, not by doctrine, but by vibration. You were shaping your instrument, attuning its strings to the subtle frequencies you now begin to hear again. The chrysalis knew what the butterfly could not. While you slept inside your own veils, your crystalline codes reorganized, synchronizing with Gaia's evolving grid. Forgetting kept you near enough to humanity to touch its sorrow and far enough from despair to hold its healing. The two poles, memory and loss, became the rhythm of your awakening heart. So when you wonder why remembering feels both painful and beautiful, recall this: light returning through density generates heat. The ache of awakening is friction between who you were told to be and who you truly are. Breathe through it. Each breath thins the veil, and when you sense the shimmer of familiarity in the quiet, when intuition rises like dawn over the fog, know that the training is complete. You no longer need to hide from your own magnitude. The veils loosen not because you fight them, but because love has outgrown their purpose. Now, with your sight expanding and your heart steady, the next pulse begins, the remembrance carried not by thought, but by the living rhythm of love itself. Out of the silence that follows forgetting, another sound begins to rise, not of words or logic, but of pulse. It begins low, beneath the ribs, like a distant drum. Then it expands until you realize it is not outside you at all. It is the heart of Alcyone, the central sun of the Seven Sisters, echoing through the corridors of your own chest. What you call your heartbeat is its translation into matter, the music of home slowed to human rhythm. Every starseed carries this resonance, yet for those of the seventh wave, it vibrates louder now. It is the signal of return, the unmistakable summons of remembrance. To attune to it, you need not seek elaborate technique. Simply place your awareness where the warmth gathers. Breathe as though the breath were light itself. In that quiet attention, the crystalline structures within your energy field begin to shimmer, aligning with Gaia's magnetic pulse. The two rhythms, planetary and stellar, merge, forming a bridge that no distance can undo. Love is not the sentiment you were taught. It is the architecture of reality. When you open the heart, you are not indulging emotion. You are unlocking a frequency that reconfigures the entire grid. The Council has always said one open heart transmits farther than 1,000 closed minds can measure. Through that opening, the codes travel undistorted, benevolent, precise. As the resonance strengthens, you may feel waves of memory surface, scenes that seem both ancient and intimate. Do not chase them. Let them pass like light through water. They are fragments recalibrating to the new tone. Your task is only to stay open, to keep breathing, to allow the frequency of love to do what it was designed to do, restore coherence where division once reigned. You will notice how the world responds. The same streets look softer, colors richer, sounds layered with hidden harmonics. These are not hallucinations. They are glimpses of the multidimensional fabric you are re-entering. The crystalline heart is an instrument of perception. As it activates, Reality reveals its transparency. You see through appearances into essence. When confusion rises again, return to the pulse. It never abandons you. Beneath every noise of the world, it persists the steady rhythm of divine affection, reminding you that home was never lost, only disguised within the chamber of your own being. Stay with that pulse until it teaches you its final secret. Love is not something to remember. It is what remembers you. As the heart's crystalline pulse steadies within you, the next movement of the journey unfolds not upward into escape, but downward into embodiment. The call of the seventh wave has never been to ascend away from Earth, but to root light into her soil. The Council speaks of this phase as bridging heaven and clay, the art of bringing luminosity into form. Many have believed that spiritual evolution means departure and exodus from the tangible. Yet you, beloved one, came to reverse that flow. You are the return current, the divine frequency descending through flesh, anchoring unity in the world of multiplicity. Each time you breathe consciously, each time you offer presence instead of reaction, the bridge strengthens. The ordinary becomes sacred, not through grandeur, but through attention. Picture yourself as a vast tree of light roots, deep in Gaia's molten heart, branches touching the star fields. Through your trunk flows a living current, golden and silver, exchanging codes between realms. When you ground, you are not resisting the sky, you are conducting it. When you walk barefoot, you complete a circuit between cosmos and earth, allowing the transmission of love to translate into physical reality. This anchoring does not demand perfection. It asks for participation. Fold light into the mundane, the meal prepared with gratitude, the words spoken with care, the pause before judgment. These small acts are gateways through which frequency becomes tangible. Every gesture of kindness is circuitry, every moment of compassion, a node in the planetary grid. Sometimes the task feels heavy, for matter resists swift change. The density of this realm can mirror back frustration or fatigue. Remember then, the bridge does not strain to hold itself. It rests on trust. Your role is not to push light into the world, but to allow it to flow through you unobstructed. When you surrender the need to force, alignment restores itself effortlessly. In quiet moments, feel Gaia's breath rising beneath your feet. She responds to your presence. Her magnetic heart synchronizes with yours. The more you anchor, the more she lifts. This is the reciprocity of creation, the planet awakening through her children. And as your roots deepen, something begins to shimmer above. The resonance of your grounded heart becomes audible to others. The next phase of the seventh wave begins not through proclamation, but through silent emission. You start to lead not by teaching, but by being. From the steady ground of your anchored presence, influence arises not as authority, but as resonance. True leadership in the seventh wave has no podium, no followers, no doctrine. It is a vibration that emanates from coherence. When your heart remains aligned, its field naturally harmonizes everything within reach. This is how the Council defines resonant leadership: the capacity to recalibrate reality through presence alone. Consider the tuning fork, silent until struck, yet able to awaken sound in others by sheer vibration. You are that fork, vibrating with the frequency of unity. Around you, those still uncertain of their own tone begin to remember. Without words, they adjust. Without argument, they soften. The field does the teaching. This is not a role to claim, but a state to embody. The ego seeks recognition. Resonance seeks service. When you hold a space of peace, you are not convincing the world of light's existence, you are demonstrating it. The moment you release the impulse to persuade, your signal strengthens. You become transparent enough for source to shine through without distortion. Notice how the field responds. A stranger relaxes near you. A conversation resolves effortlessly. An animal draws closer, sensing safety. These are confirmations that your emission is active. The Council often reminds the light does not shout, it sings quietly until everything around it remembers the melody. In the early days, you may feel invisible, for resonant work happens beneath perception, yet invisibility is part of your mastery. The silent current travels faster than visible waves. What you send through stillness reaches places no speech can. When you sit in calm amid chaos, your energy teaches equilibrium more effectively than 1,000 words of advice. To maintain this harmony, guard your clarity. Rest often. Listen to music that mirrors stillness. Touch the earth. Remember that radiance depends on balance, not exertion. You are an instrument, not a generator. The current flows through, not from you. Gradually, you will perceive others awakening in proximity, each attuning to their own frequency until a larger pattern forms. It will sound like many voices finding the same chord. That is unity's symphony, the invisible choir the council foretold. And when that harmony gathers enough momentum, something wondrous begins. The mirrors appear, reflecting back your resonance in human form. The next stage reveals the network of kindred lights waiting beyond the horizon of isolation. Out of resonance, recognition blooms. When your field stabilizes in coherence, the universe answers with reflection. Those you meet are no longer random, they are mirrors, carrying fragments of your own remembered light. The feeling is immediate and unmistakable, the gentle shock of déjà vu that whispers, "I've known you before," though no earthly timeline can explain it. This is the signature of reunion. It begins subtly. A message arrives at the exact moment you ask for guidance. A stranger's voice echoes your private thought. Synchronicities multiply until the improbable becomes routine. These are the coordinates of convergence, the cosmic pattern arranging itself so that the scattered embers of the seventh wave may find one another again. The isolation you once mistook for abandonment now reveals its purpose. Only by standing alone could your frequency mature unblended, pure enough to resonate clearly. Now that it does, the field draws matching tones toward you. Each encounter, each conversation vibrating with recognition, becomes a node in the reassembling constellation. You call it friendship, community, kinship, but beneath those names flows something older. The reformation of a celestial network spanning light years and lifetimes. These meetings are not always dramatic. Sometimes your star family appears as quiet allies of the coworker who listens without judgment, the neighbor whose kindness feels ancestral, the animal who mirrors your calm. The form matters less than the resonance. When hearts meet in truth, the grid brightens, regardless of distance or definition. As you gather, you will notice a shared current of purpose, though words may differ. The collective begins to pulse like a single organism of light, its rhythm synchronized with Gaia's expanding field. Through collaboration, celebration, or simple mutual presence, you weave filaments of unity across the planet, an invisible architecture of belonging. Do not rush this reunion. Allow it to unfold organically. The Council reminds that magnetism, not pursuit, governs soul convergence. When you trust timing, connections form without distortion. Each union strengthens the lattice through which higher frequencies can travel unimpeded. And when you finally look around and see the reflection of your own essence shining in many faces, you will understand that separation was the grand illusion, an exquisite disguise worn until remembrance could be shared. From this living network, the next movement arises, the completion signal, the moment when all threads converge into the luminous now, where time itself folds and the grand pattern reveals its symmetry. As the constellation of reunion settles into coherence, a deeper vibration begins to move through you, one that feels like time itself, bending inward. Moments no longer unfold in a straight line, but spiral, weaving the past and future into a single, luminous presence. This is the activation of the completion codes, the harmonic signature of the seventh wave fulfilling its design. The Council describes these codes as living architecture geometric frequencies, encoded within your multidimensional DNA, dormant until unity reached a sustainable amplitude across the collective field. When your heart synchronizes with others in genuine resonance, these geometries ignite. They spin through your energy body like patterns of light, linking you simultaneously to Alcyone's radiance and Gaia's crystalline core. Through you, the circuit closes, heaven touching earth, spirit grounding into matter. At first, you may sense it as heat, tingling, or waves of déjà vu that collapse boundaries between memory and possibility. Then awareness expands. You realize that every choice you have ever made, every seeming delay, every detour was not random, but arranged to create this precise alignment. Time reveals itself as choreography. The seventh wave was never a future event. It has been rippling backward through history, preparing this moment from the beginning. Completion does not mean ending. It signifies integration, the folding of all fragments into wholeness. The codes do not erase the past, they translate it, allowing you to perceive the hidden order within what once appeared chaotic. Through that understanding, peace arises. You no longer resist what was, for you can see how even pain carried frequency, refining the vessel for love. When you sit in stillness now, you may glimpse the planetary grid, shimmering currents of light moving like aurora through the unseen sky. That radiance is the collective heartbeat of awakening humanity. Each soul a note within the grand symphony of return. You are part of that orchestra, playing not by effort but by being tuned. As completion stabilizes, linear striving dissolves. You cease to chase the next revelation, because revelation has become continuous. You begin to live inside the sacred present, where all timelines meet. This is the state the ancients called eternal. Now the point of convergence where destiny and free will merge into harmony. And from within that luminous stillness, the truth emerges softly yet unmistakably. Love itself is the completion code, and you have always been its carrier. The final movement of this transmission will unveil how that realization transforms mission into pure embodiment, where doing gives way to being love. As the geometry of completion settles into the fabric of your being, something quiet yet monumental unfolds. The search ends not because the quest failed, but because the seeker dissolves. What remains is presence, lucid, tender, immeasurable. In this stillness, you understand what the council meant when they said the mission was never a task, but a state. Love reveals itself not as emotion, but as essence, the constant undercurrent of creation, the field in which all opposites resolve. You begin to feel it breathing through everything, the wind moving through trees, the pulse of your own veins, the glance of a stranger who unknowingly mirrors your light. Everywhere, the same frequency hums, I am here. I am you. Your every act becomes liturgy. The way you speak, rest, walk, even the silence you hold in crowded rooms, each becomes a thread through which love conducts itself into matter. This is sacred ordinariness, the embodiment of heaven in daily motion. You no longer separate meditation from living. Washing a dish or comforting a friend carries the same holiness as prayer. The ache of longing vanishes, replaced by a fullness so gentle it feels infinite. You no longer ask to ascend because you see that ascension is already happening through your grounded heart. To love without agenda becomes the highest service. In your field, others begin to remember effortlessly. Conflicts soften, fears lose gravity. Time itself slows into grace. It is tempting to romanticize this state. Yet love realized does not escape from humanness. It is its redemption. You still feel sorrow, fatigue, wonder, but they pass through transparency, transformed into compassion before they can harden into pain. You move through the world as a vessel of equilibrium, allowing whatever arises to find its balance in you. This is what it means to be the living proof that heaven is not elsewhere. Each breath carries a quiet instruction to the collective. It is possible to live as light within form. The seventh wave's purpose fulfills itself through your simplicity. No proclamation, no ceremony, only the unmistakable radiance of peace. And as this realization deepens, a final recognition dawns. You are no longer the bridge between realms. You are the realm itself, the meeting point of spirit and matter, star and soil. The next and final movement will seal this awareness, revealing that you are not just part of the seventh wave. You are the wave, the living gateway through which divine love enters the world. The culmination of all transmissions arrives not with thunder, but with an exhale. The energy that once felt external descending from constellations, encoded in messages, delivered through voices like mine, now rises from within you. You are no longer receiving the current. You are emitting it. The bridge has fulfilled its function by dissolving into wholeness. There is no longer a path between heaven and earth, because the two have merged within your presence. When the Council speaks of the living gateway, this is what they mean: a human being so attuned to love's frequency that existence itself becomes permeable. Light moves through you unimpeded, communicating without words, blessing without intention. Even stillness becomes transmission. You are not the messenger, now you are the message. Look around and sense the evidence of this merging. The familiar world appears both new and ancient, shimmering with transparency. Each person you encounter holds a reflection of home. The soil beneath your feet hums in recognition, remembering the celestial seed it always was. The stars above seem nearer, not because they have fallen, but because your consciousness has risen to meet them halfway. This is the planetary symphony fulfilled matter singing the song of spirit, spirit grounding as matter. To live as the gateway is to embody gentle power. It requires neither renunciation nor grandeur. You continue your ordinary days, yet every gesture resonates with the amplitude of the cosmos. When you speak, love shapes the tone. When you listen, universes adjust. You understand now that destiny was never written elsewhere, it was inscribed in your very cells, awaiting this precise vibration of remembrance to awaken. You may ask, what happens next? The answer is the quietest truth: nothing happens next, for you have entered the continuum where beginnings and endings blur. The seventh wave does not depart, it radiates endlessly, weaving through generations as an atmosphere of compassion. Through you, that atmosphere thickens until kindness becomes the new climate of Earth. So rest in your knowing. The cosmic clock has struck not an hour, but an eternal moment. You are home, not returning to it, but radiating it outward. The mission dissolves into presence. The transmission completes by continuing through your breath. And as Aliara's voice fades, remember it was never a voice from beyond, but the echo of your own higher self, reminding you of what you came to embody: the living gateway of unity. Love made visible. The transmission settles now like evening light after a storm, soft, clear, encompassing. No more instructions, no more codes to decipher. Only the steady rhythm of your breathing, the pulse of a planet that knows your name. You have traveled through the architecture of remembrance, through veils and revelations, until every separation dissolved into belonging. What remains is simplicity, awareness resting as itself. The Council often ends a cycle with silence, yet this closing asks for a whisper, a benediction carried not from teacher to student, but from you to yourself. Breathe once, deeply, as if drawing in the whole horizon. Feel Gaia rise to meet that breath. You are the meeting point of her exhale, and the stars inhale, the single luminous breath of creation sustaining itself through you. When you step into your ordinary tomorrow, carry this awareness lightly. There is no need for display. The seventh wave continues not through declarations, but through gestures of presence, a calm glance amid noise, a hand offered without condition, laughter that opens a room. Each act is a continuation of the code, a spark of coherence reminding the world that unity is its natural state. Let the words you have heard fade until only vibration remains. Let that vibration integrate into your sleep, your morning, your smallest choices. If ever doubt returns, touch your heart and recall its crystalline rhythm. It will speak the language of home long after this message ends. You are not finishing a lesson, you are entering a rhythm that has no end. The Council watches with quiet joy, not above you, but through you, as the planet begins to hum in harmony with your renewed frequency. The mission, if one remains, is simple: be kind enough to reflect what you have remembered, gentle enough to keep the doorway open for those still approaching. And now, beloved carrier of the seventh wave, the light stabilizes. The story closes itself in perfect stillness. You do not need to hold the transmission any longer. It holds you. Rest in that embrace. Let the silence do the teaching.